All right, so for this training, we're going to do kind of an overview of Pinterest for bloggers. Just a little disclaimer, I have crazy dogs in the background, so if you hear growling and screaming or me yelling, they're my toddlers. So I'm going to kind of go over the main concepts that you need to understand in order for Pinterest to work for you. As I go through a lot of Christian blogs, I tend to, it's beautiful content, so well written, but the pinnable image, or the ability for a user to share it on Pinterest isn't so optimized. So that's kind of what I'm going to talk about today. So Pinterest is a search engine. It's not social media, and so it works in a similar way that, say, a Google search would work. And so you have to understand a little bit of SEO, but not to the extent that you do for Google. So the areas we're going to talk about, how to optimize your Pinterest profile, apply for rich pins, and what rich pins are and why they're important, your pinnable image, your Pinterest text, share buttons, how exactly to pin after you've published a post. We'll talk a little bit about group boards, and then Tailwind and the benefits for you in multiple areas of using Tailwind. All right, so first thing we're going to do, we're talking about your Pinterest profile. So most of the accounts that I come across, they do appear to be business accounts. And so if you haven't converted to a business account, you need to. It's completely free. There's no charge for it. There's no fees or anything associated with it. And so once you've done that, and we'll go kind of through those steps, I'll show you how to do it. The other thing is optimizing your actual Pinterest account, which includes kind of your name, the name of your Pinterest account, your boards, board descriptions, board titles, and so forth. And then creating a blog board. So a board that you would save all of your blog post images to. All right, so let's click over here to Pinterest. And so if you don't have a Pinterest business account, all you have to do when you log in is just click on these three little dots, go to your settings, and it'll be a button right here for you to click, and then it'll ask you a few additional questions that you have to enter in some data. And then you'll want to be sure to claim your website. And so we'll talk about this section in a minute, but you'll enter your website address right here and then hit this button. It'll say claim, so you just click that. And usually it takes about 24 hours, and you'll get an email that says, congratulations, your website has been claimed. The other part of that will be to apply for rich pins. So the first step in applying for rich pins is to claim your website. Once that's done, you will go to, and I'll post this link when I share the video, I'll post this link on there. Once you've done that, you will then validate your rich pins. And all you have to do is enter a URL here. So basically a link to a blog post, not your domain, but an actual post, a post that has a pinnable image on it that you would pin. And then you'll validate, and usually it takes just a few hours. You'll get an email saying it's done. Sometimes it takes a little longer, but basically once they say it's been done, you go to your website, or I'm sorry, go to your Pinterest, and all of your pins that you've saved that link to a blog post will now be rich pins. And we'll go into rich pins here in just a second, or actually we'll do it right now. So rich pins are, that was my dogs, if y'all heard a weird noise. So I'm going to show you three different pins that I just happened to pull off the feed that came up when I logged in today. So these aren't anyone in particular. If it's someone who's watching the video, I hope this training will help you in understanding the importance of it. But by no means am I calling anyone out. I just logged into Pinterest and pulled the first pins that I saw. So look at this section right here. Now, this is not a rich pin. This is a rich pin. So the difference you can see is it has the the title of the blog post in bold and bigger. This paragraph here is actually the first paragraph of text on the post. And then this down here will be the actual text that is on the pin, like the pin description. And we'll go into how to make sure that says what you want it to say. Now, the importance of having a business account and rich pins together. When you have a business account, you're able to see your stats on every single pin that you pin. And so it tells you the date. So this was published December 17th. It's had over 5,000 impressions, 50 clicks. So this is important so you can see, you know, kind of how your pins are doing. And then again, it gives you the information. Okay, so the other part, optimizing your profile. So that's really going to be starting here, your name, your slug, which you can change that once you make it, you can change it as many times. Just make sure if you do change it to something else that you adjust the link to your profile if you have follow links on your blog. Just make sure you change it. So your profile, you know, your name usually is the name of your blog. You may see some people put it as like their name / blog. For my Girl Bosses Rock Pinterest, it's actually Leanne / blogging tips and Jesus, because blogging tips is a keyword someone would search. And so, you know, kind of think in terms of, because in the search, when you search a term, you can search it for pins, you can search it by people, you can search it by boards. So anything having to do with pins, your profile name, and board names are all areas that you would want to have optimized for search SEO. So in your About section, which is this, and that's what shows up here, you know, have a few good keywords in it, you know, just a little bit about yourself. You know, if you're a Christian parenting blog, if you're educational, you know, just really whatever you consider your overall niche. And so, you know, Christian blog is not your niche. I mean, it's the general category of your blogging, but you should have more of a focused audience on some area of that, such as parenting, marriage, you know, Bible studies, whatever. And so make sure you have whatever it is listed in this section also. Along with that, your boards. And so, where are the boards we have here? So, you know, before I go into the boards, so I have board covers. There's really no indication that they do better or worse. So it's more of a personal preference. When I started Kingdom Bloggers, I was branding everything for the site because it's a brand new site. And so I just kind of went crazy on Pinterest too. But you don't have to brand your boards for them to be successful. It's about what's in the board and how you have the board optimized. So the first part of optimizing them will be to label them properly. So think in terms of what someone would search in the search box if they were looking for what you're saving to that board. So the easiest way to figure that out is to simply type it in the search box. So if I wanted, like I have this board here, scripture wall art, and you know, I have that because that's a board that I actually put affiliate links on, but there's other content on there as well. So you just type it in there and then go to boards. And so if what you typed here, the phrase that you typed, is showing up as like there's quite a few boards with that title, then that's a good title to go with. Now, if you did something else, let's say, go here. So here, God's grace, godly grace, you know, any of those variations. Now, if let's say I typed in grace of God and nothing came up under that, but the search results gave me God's grace. That's actually how I came up with God's grace, by the way. So again, the idea is you type in what you think people would search, and then you see if there's actually boards out there that have that search or have that title. If there is not, then adjust your board name to one that is that you see is a common name for the content. Because at the end of the day, people do search content by boards. Like when I'm looking, I have a Doberman board on my other blog, and I love to save pictures of Doberman because I own them. And so I will go find boards that have pictures of Dobermans on. So I don't search Doberman by pins, I search it by boards. So you want to make sure that your board has the proper title for it in respect to what someone would type in the search box. All right, so now let's go back. Now, once you've got your board title, the other part is going to be, we'll just do God's grace, is a short description, you know, complete sentences, not just 1 or 2 words, not God's grace, but a description of what is on that board. Now, it should have the keyword in it, so God's grace should be in it, but just an overall kind of other words that might go along with that too. Now, keep in mind, in the faith realm, you could have multiple boards that kind of say almost the same thing, and a pin could literally go on any of those boards, and that's okay, but the board itself needs to be kept to more of a specific topic. So like you see here, I mean, I have on this one, just as an example, things that would kind of mean the same thing as God's grace, forgiveness, things like that. But even these cute little images have the word grace on it. You know, so it's a mixture of posts and inspirational quotes, but grace is the underlying theme for this board. And so that kind of labels this board grace. And so when someone's searching for grace, God's grace, things from my board might show up, or my board itself might show up in the results. All right, now your blog board. So you should have a board that we call your blog board. And so it could be best of, and then your blog name, or just your blog name. So I have 2 for Kingdom Bloggers because we publish content on Christian blogging tips as well as regular faith content. And so to keep them separated, we have 2 blog boards. The only thing on these boards are pins leading directly to the website. No other pins go on this board. And, you know, you would optimize it, give the title, same thing for the description. But this just helps you for a lot of things, but one, keeping all your pins for your blog posts in one place. But also for readers who, like, I know when I get ready to schedule content to Tailwind, to pin, I will often go to some of my more favorite bloggers that I know have really great content and really great pins, and I will go to their blog board and I will bulk schedule directly from their board. And so it's just really great for you to be able to capture everything that you have to offer from your website, and that readers don't have to sift through and occasionally find your pin throughout these other boards. All right, so applying for rich pins. The first step was doing the settings, like I said, claiming your website, which, by the way, a few months back, they've also made it for you to claim your Instagram, your Etsy, and if you have YouTube. And that way, those accounts, when you share pins from Etsy or from your video images from YouTube or Instagram, they will also be rich pins and show, you know, it's fully branded to your website. Okay, so once you do that and you get the email that says your website has been claimed, then you will go to the Rich Pins Validator, and that's where you enter the full URL for the post into this and validate it. Once that happens, then your pins will start showing up like this. Okay, you don't have to do anything else. Just one day you'll be on, your pins will be all boring. The next day you go on, and everything on your blog board will look like this. There will be a part where you insert header scripts onto your header, and so real quick, if you're in a Genesis theme, you will simply go to Genesis theme settings, and the piece of script that they give you will simply go into here. You'll just add it into the header section and hit save. If you're not on a Genesis theme, you're on a regular theme, you can install a headers and footers plugin and then just add it there. All right. Pinnable images. So now rich pins and the profile, all that's important. But when it comes to getting Pinterest to work for you, it works through the people who share your content. If you don't have optimized images on your post, and we're going to go into what makes a pin optimized. So if you're not optimizing your images, you may get, a lot of people saved your image from your site, which is great. You come here and you look at your little thing and it says, oh, 8 people have saved my pin today. So it's a great post. The post is awesome. They want to pin it. They pin it to your site using the only available image you give them, which isn't optimized. Then it goes to Pinterest and it just sits there. They save it to the board on their account and it will go nowhere else. So even if 100 people saved your image to Pinterest, it looks great here. And yes, in the Google world and the algorithm for that, it gives your site a little more boost. But when it gets to Pinterest, it's basically dead weight. It's not going to do anything. Pinterest is not going to show it in the feeds. No one else is going to find it and save it from that person's board. It's just going to die. And so you need to give it the proper foundation so that Pinterest will then like it, so to speak, and give it engagement, meaning the more Pinterest likes your images, and they like it because it's created properly with the right key areas. Once that happens and Pinterest sees that it's a good quality pin, then it will start showing that pin in other people's feeds, and it will also show it in like search queries for someone looking for that type of content. So how do we optimize an image? The first step is making sure you have the right pinnable image. An optimized title image is vertical, not the square little bitty boxes. Typically, they say their optimized ratio is 2:1, which is 600 by 900. Or if you're using Canva, it's the Pinterest template in Canva, which is 735 by 1102. You can go as long as up to maybe 1200, but sometimes those longer pins will get cut off in the feed, especially on mobile viewing. Brand your images, and I'm going to show you all of this as soon as I read this. Brand your templates. At a minimum, your image needs to have the blog post title on it. And then, as far as the branding, also includes your website name at the bottom of the image. So let's hop over here, and we'll go. So these are all the images for the post on Kingdom Bloggers right now. And so I have kind of 2 different ones, so it's not all exactly the same image. But you see it's 2, and there's actually 8 of them total. You're only going to see 2 of them right now because the other ones haven't started pinning yet. But they all follow the same palette. Even though this one's gold, this one's blue, they still follow the same color scheme, which matches the website. And they all have Kingdom Bloggers written on it. And so, you've probably heard of people's pins being stolen, and people will still steal them even with your name on it, but at least that gives an indication to other readers that that pin's not going where it says it's supposed to go. But it just helps in building your brand for your blog, which is really important. And so let's hop over here. Vertical, like I said, long, the blog post title. And so here's the thing with that. You may have the best post in the world, right? And then someone saves, let's go home here, your image. I'm going to find one here. I tend to only follow people who have quality images, so it may be hard for me to find a bad image here. But let's just say it was a short, maybe a square, or even a longer image. This is going to be harder than I thought. So we'll go back up here. Let's say it was this image here and they didn't have this text box on it. And I see a lot of Christian blogs that just have a pretty picture with no words on it at all. And so Someone might save it just because, you know, they saved it and they don't understand how Pinterest works. But at the end of the day, again, back to the, it's just going to sit on their board. When you come across an image in a feed, you click on it for two reasons. One, so like I said, I save pictures of Dobermans, and I'm not expecting those to go anywhere. They're literally just pictures for me to look at because I like to look at Doberman, cute pictures of Dobermans doing different silly things. I know those images are not clickable. The way you tell someone something is clickable and that it leads to content is by putting content on the image. So you can see this, and if you're looking for readings about forgiveness, you know, you can see that's what this is about. Prayers for your husband, things like that. You have to tell the reader this picture leads to content, and this is what the content is about. And so by simply, you know, like this one here, how to organize your home, that's what this, click on this, and you'll find more information about that. And so that's like the #1 thing I see a lot, is that they're just really pretty images, landscapes, seascapes, whatever, fields, flowers. Nothing about the image indicates it's a blog post. And so it's literally not going to do anything for you. The point of using Pinterest is to get more traffic to your site. If you don't use it correctly, it's just like the treadmill that we buy and we leave it sitting in the living room and it becomes a place to like put all of our clothes and hang our jackets. It does nothing for you. Okay. Next one is the Pinterest text. So this is the other part. So many people finally realize the title image and they start creating great images that have the post title, and that's a great start. But the optimized part of it is making sure it has the right Pinterest text. And so what that is, when you go to a website and you click on either the share button here, the save button, or you use the Pinterest extension, whichever one, the image comes up, you click on it, and then your pin description is right here. This should be a full description, like a couple of full, like complete sentences that explain, say, what is this post about? And then it should have a couple of relevant hashtags, which are trending hashtags on that topic. Hashtags just started last year, but they are very, very important. People search more content by clicking on the hashtags at the end of posts or at on the pins. You can search by hashtag. And so when you add them, it's, again, giving your pin more optimization juice for Pinterest to want to use it. Pinterest rewards those who are most optimized. And that is your goal, is getting the benefits of Pinterest doing the work for you. Without all of this, again, your pins are not going to go anywhere. So how do you get that on there? So 2 ways. You can do it manually, which I honestly, yes, it's free to do it manually, but it's taxing, it's time consuming. And if you miss a single, like one character off, it messes up the whole coding. So I'm just going to open up a blank document here. There's a plugin called Tasty Pins. It's $29, but it's a very well spent $29. So I'm going to add an image here. So go add my image for, I'm just going to pick a random image. This isn't an actual image I would have uploaded, but for the sake of this. So over here you have your box that shows up. You'll notice I have this extra box here called Pinterest Text. So when you have the Tasty Pins plugin, it gives you this. So without this, whatever you've entered in your alt text, which should only be your SEO keyword, should not be complete sentences, should not have hashtags. Whatever's in this box will by default fill in the Pinterest text. And so if you've ever seen pins in a queue, you can actually see it over here. And I'll show you my tribes, what that means. Whatever's in the alt text box will default and fill your pin description. So I'm just gonna click over here and kind of show you. as you're going through, many of these are pretty good. This one. Typically, people will put the blog post title in that box. This one, again, when you see this, that means this is what was in the alt text. They didn't fill in the pin description. And so this Tasty Pins gives you this box. Whatever you put in this box will fill in that Pinterest text box. So you would put complete sentences followed by your, 2, 3, 4 hashtags. And then you would put your description again here. I put it here without the hashtags, but I copy the same description here and here. Your alt text should only be your keyword for that post, or the title, which should include the keyword. And then, of course, the title. Now, when you save the image to your desktop before you upload it, make sure you've saved it as the keyword as well, because that can impact the SEO. And then when you save it, it's going to have that text. Now, you can do this for every single image on your post, because your images can also be searched in Google searches, if you didn't know that. And then make your the image you want them to save, to pin. Any other images, like if you just have pretty images that you add, like I do these little ones that have all the scripture listed, and I have these little things. Fill all of this out for all of them, but then disable the pinning. That way, the only pin that they can pin is the one that you've optimized. Give them the right tools so that they can help you build your site. Again, once it leaves your site, it's in a whole different algorithm, set of rules, and all of that. And so you have to do it the Pinterest way. So there's the Google way with your blog, and then there's the Pinterest thing. And it's two separate kind of, algorithms. It's two separate things that you have to focus on. All right. And just so like I said, the alt text, you should not use that for your descriptions. It will default the pin description. But if you didn't know, the alt text box is actually scripted for blind software readers. So for blind people who have the software that read books to them, when the reader, the software, comes upon an image in the book, or the whatever it is it's reading, it literally reads the image by what the alt text has coded. And so, for instance, if it was like, a book and the image was a picture of a boy with a brown dog, then the alt text would say boy with brown dog. Like that way it's reading that to the blind person. So that's what alt text is. If you ever wondered what alt text means, that's the purpose of it. It's to help blind reader software read images to the person that they're reading to. Okay, the next one, we're going to talk about your sharing buttons. Let's close this out and go over here. All right, so many of you probably have the buttons that come with your blog. And so, scooch this over here. I highly recommend that you disable those and install a plugin. Now, Shareaholic is free, so I'm not telling you that just so you'll use my affiliate link, because I'm not giving you one. Shareaholic is a free service, and that's what I used. So if you have Jetpack, then you have these little buttons here. And so you would simply come over here, and any of them that are in this, just drag them back up here. Turn everything off. That way there's no buttons, nothing's active. All of these are unchecked. And then you install your sharing plugin. Now, the reason for that is the Jetpack buttons, you can only put them after your content, and they are single buttons. So these little squares, if you want the Facebook, the Pinterest, and the Twitter, though, you would drag those 3 down here. That's not a very good way to have your sharing. You want your readers to be able to share your content on any platform that they hang out on. So a common misconception is that you can only put buttons here if you are on those platforms. Now, that is true for your follow buttons, for your readers to follow you. Obviously, for them to follow you, you have to have an account. But for them to share your content, they can share it anywhere, whether you're there or not. And so to do that with Jetpack, you would literally have to add each and every button, and that would just be a hot mess of buttons right here and look really ugly. But with your plugin, so you have Shareaholic, which I do recommend, it's free. You have Sumo Me, you have Social Warfare. There's a whole bunch of them out there. But most of them give you the ability to add this button right here. It might look different depending on which one you're using. But when you click on this, it opens up, and any platform that is a shareable platform, your reader can share it there. Now, I'm sure most of you have probably never heard of at least half of these. But nonetheless, people are there, and if someone visits your site that hangs out there, you want to make sure they can share your content there. Like I always say, if there was a button to share your content on the bathroom wall, you would want that button, because the whole point of sharing is for other people to get your content in front of other people. So they're going to share it on their audience, and that's an audience that's not already following you. And so the more people that get eyes on your content, the better. The other thing with it is, with these social plugins, you have this one that scrolls alongside. So no matter where they're at and they're like reading, oh, I totally need to share this. Oh, there's a button right there. I don't have to go looking for it. You have it at the top, and then of course at the end. So when they're done, then they decide, then the button is there. Shareaholic I like because it has this cute little sharing is caring. You can adjust the font or whatever. And it shows your share counts, except for Twitter. Twitter, they changed some stuff last year, and share counts aren't really coming up for that anymore. But okay, so the other thing with your share buttons, and this is a huge pet peeve of mine, but it impacts anyone who has these. So okay, my palette here is the blue and the gold. I've seen many sites that they have the regular buttons, but even the ones that use these social sharing plugins, they'll place their buttons somewhere at the very end, which is where it's going to go, like say right here, and it's little bitty buttons, like right here where my cursor is, like smaller than these buttons, and they're yellow or whatever color the blog's palette is. They blend in so well with the palette that they're literally camouflage in it, and they just look like something else that's supposed to be there. Your sharing buttons are there for your readers to share your content. They need to be big and in your face. They're not supposed to blend. Now, you can make them blend. I have seen some sites that do make them the color of their palette, but they do it in such a way that it's still evident that, hey, I'm right here, click on me. So if you choose to make them your palette's color of your theme, still make sure that they're not hidden, camouflage, whatever. Don't make them so tiny that no one can see them. They need to be big, you know, in multiple places and so forth. I prefer when they're this color, because if, you know, everyone views things differently. Some are more attuned to different colors. Some, the busyness of colors impacts them. So, I mean, but in general, when they're a different color from everything else, they stand out, and that's what you want them to do. I don't want to have to search for a way to share your content, because at the end of the day, no matter how much the reader liked it, people are human. They're not going to waste their time. You kind of have to do the work for them, put them in their face no matter where they're at, that they don't have to go looking for a way to share it, because oftentimes they won't. They'll spend like a half a second and be like, oh, yeah, okay, never mind. So big buttons, bold, multiple places, and then the little share on any platform ability. All right, so how do you pin? All right, so first you publish your post, right? Then you go visit your blog post as a visitor, like not in your dashboard, but the actual blog post, and you pin it directly from the post to your blog board. Some people play around with it where they will pin first to the relevant board and then their blog board. I've always done it with my blog board first, and that board always gets the most engagement because that's how I've trained it. But it also keeps all your pins in one place, and you don't have to know which ones you've already pinned and everything, because you do it in a specific routine every time. So pin it to your blog board, go to Tailwind, schedule it to pin out to all of your relevant boards. So if it was, say, on Kingdom Bloggers, it was a post on parenting, a topic on parenting, so it would go to the blog board first, and then I would schedule it to go to the Christian parenting board and any other board that it might fit on, including all of the group boards that it could go on. I would then add it to tribes. which we'll talk about group boards and tribes here in just a second, as well as the smart loop. So you add it to the smart loop. And then so when I create my images for Kingdom Bloggers, I create 8 for every post. Now, you have to do 8. You could start with 3 or 4, 2 or 3, whatever. I'm in overkill mode because it's a new site. But the reason for that is, so it's January, I publish a post today or this month, pin it to the board, and then come March or April, I've pretty much forgotten about that post because it was so long ago. You can continually get fresh people seeing your content by providing more images. You know, you don't want to pin the same image to a board more than once because then it kind of looks like spam, unless you span it out like 6 months or something. But you create multiple images for the same post, then you pin that image to the same board, and it just looks like a new pin. So so for January, all the posts that go out in January, get the pin that's actually on the post, and that's the one that's saved. Then I go and upload those other pins that I've created. I upload them directly into Tailwind, and I set them to begin pinning in months down the road. So like in February, pin number 2 will start pinning in February to the same loop, the same tribes, the same everything, the same list of boards, but it won't show up on Pinterest until February. And then number 3 will start in March, and so forth. And so that's how you keep your content continually in front of fresh eyes. Because you pin it today, well, 3 months from now, there's gonna be like 100 new people on that board or people who are following you or whatever. And so it's just continually refreshing that content while you're writing new content. And so that the Smart Loop was a great addition to it. Kind of replaced what Board Booster used to do for those of you who use that. But this way you don't have to continually actively working on refreshing your content. Just set it out there, schedule it on Tailwind, and then forget about it. Okay, so group boards, I'm sure you've heard a lot in the last year because Pinterest did a lot of crazy changes. Group boards can be good. In general, group boards are not given as much engagement by Pinterest as they used to. But if you are on the right boards, you can still get a lot of repins on your content. And that means joining boards that you take a look at them. Are those boards full of pins that are not good, not optimized, knowing now what you know about what an optimized pin looks like? But also make sure you're joining niche boards. If you're on any boards that are just general, you can pin whatever you want here, those boards are not good because, again, people are going to repin your content if it's something that they would normally pin. So it makes sense that you would be on a board with other people pinning similar content. In the Christian realm, there's a lot of Christian general boards, so it's all Christian content, and that still works because most of us have boards that any of what we all pin could fit on one of our boards. But the more niched board you find, the better your content will do. So Christian parenting, there's faith posts on scripture. I mean, there's a lot of very niched Christian boards as well. But don't just focus on the niche boards for Christians. If it was like you were a faith Christian parenting blogger, for example, you could join regular parenting type groups. Just be aware of their rules. Some of them outright say no religious content. I usually would pin them anyway, and then, and then they would tell me not to. But I'm all about the sneaky Jesus. So until they tell you don't do it, I don't see why not, unless it outright says don't pin faith content. And in that case, I just wouldn't join that board. And then you can actually check the productivity of a board through Tailwind. So you have to use Tailwind to do this. Pinterest doesn't give you the ability to do it. But if you're using Tailwind, their analytics can actually tell you how well a board is doing. And I'll show you that right here. So we'll go to the home page. And so you would come over here and explore boards. And so just FYI, this is pretty much a brand new account. I think this account's probably 2 or 3 months old. Kingdom Bloggers, the website went live a month ago, and I started the Pinterest account about a month or so before that. So just in case you're looking at it and like, she seems to be an expert on Pinterest, but her account's very low. It's a brand new board. Those of you who may have followed me on Girl Bosses Rock have seen some of the videos with the stats from that site. So what I'm telling you is legit. I just kind of wanted to say that. All right, so from the board insights, you come over here, uncheck these other ones, and so now these are only group boards. So how do you tell? So here we are. You see pins, followers, repins, right? So this is for the last 7 days. So this board had 47 pins added by people in the group, 69 repins. That's pretty good. You come down here to, let's see, 92 and 44. That's, I mean, there's still engagement there. Now this one added 39 pins and you're like a -1 over here. That's not good. And actually I'm in this board, but I don't think I've actually added anything to this board. So go. You'll see I have Christmas boards, which funny enough, this board is still doing well, even though it's after Christmas, but you see 0 and 0. Well, that is going to change when it's in the Christmas season. So, but from here, you know, if you're on a board that you're actively adding pins to and there's no repins going on, that indicates that that board is a dumping ground. People are just dumping their pins in there. Nobody's going back and reciprocating, you know. So if you are in group boards, give yourself a set day of the week, whatever day it is, to go and say on Fridays, I am going to go and share content from all the group boards that I'm a member of. And that's where you can schedule it out on Tailwind and so forth. Don't be a dumper. Don't just go put your pins on boards and not share everyone else's. That's just, you know, we're all in this, and the more we all work together, the better it is for everyone. So, but that's how you can, from your Tailwind analytics, determine if a board is worth your time. All right. So now let's talk about Tailwind in general. It is a huge time saver. You know, Pinterest likes to see its users active, and you know, you can't just sit on Pinterest all day long. So you can schedule your content out. Now, many of you have probably read other posts or followed other bloggers, Pinterest specialists, whatever you want to call them, and seen variations on the ratio. And I'm referring to like how many of your pins should you be scheduling versus how many of other people's pins. Regardless of what you've heard, there is no magic number. Pinterest has said it doesn't matter as long as what you're sharing is quality content. I have followed some bloggers who really never share anyone else's content. They just make a whole bunch of different images for their own posts. And they have huge followings, so obviously that works. I've always wanted to share other content, of course, because, you know, that just makes more stuff on the board. I guess it really could depend on what your niche is, but it's not like 80-20 is the magic number. It's not like 30-70. Just whatever works for you. Obviously, you want to share your content because it's your account and you want people to visit your blog posts. But don't get too caught up in the how many of mine, how many of theirs do I need to be scheduling. Also, what does not matter is how many pins you schedule to go out each day. I know people who schedule 10 a day. I know people who schedule 100 a day. Like, it really doesn't matter. It's just whatever is working for you. Now, obviously, the more content that you start getting, like more blog posts, you know, start sharing more. But in the beginning, I think I started Kingdom Bloggers doing 10 pins a day on Tailwind. And it has grown. Like, I don't do much with it except schedule the pins out, and I'm gaining followers, my engagement is up, and so forth. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I've been in direct training with the Pinterest people who give the training to the influencers, and so your ratio doesn't matter. The number of pins that you pin per day doesn't matter, just that you are pinning and pinning consistently. In Tailwind, you can create board lists. And so this makes it easy also for you to schedule out your stuff. all the boards that you have on Pinterest, you can put them in specific lists. So like I have all my Christmas boards here, any ones that I join that are group boards for blogging topics, because I do share blogging content, and so forth. And that way, instead of having to go and add each one when you schedule it, you just add the board and it adds all of them. So that's a super handy feature. The Smart Loop, this is new. And like I said before, this replaced Board Booster. Well, Board Booster went away, and then Tailwind developed this, because Tailwind is an approved Pinterest scheduling tool, and that is very important. They work hand in hand with Pinterest in developing how this platform works. And so your Smart Loop, you've published posts, but here it is 12 months later, you know, and that content might get forgotten. You create a loop, and then it'll continually pin that content all throughout the year to the boards that you want it to go out to. So I have mine set where it's just my group boards. And if I end up joining any new group boards after I've created it, you can simply go in and add it. But it sets it on a schedule, and then all year long, all of your pins. So once I pin a new blog post, when I add it in Tailwind, I add it to the loop as well. And it'll go to the end of the line, and it'll run through all the pins and then start over and run through all the pins. And it just keeps doing that. And that's, you know, important again for getting all that older content in front of fresh eyes, which will send more organic traffic to your site. And so you can see here I have 3, 6, so like, I think I have this set at 15 per day as a standard, and then I do add some manually. Now these things with the circles, these are the ones that are on the Smart Loop. But you know, you can see here, you got the blue and the gold thing going on. The majority of my pins that are being scheduled are Kingdom Blogger pins, and I do share other people's stuff, but again, that ratio is really irrelevant, how many versus how many. So in tribes, so what are tribes? Tribes are like group boards. The main difference really, well, there's two. One, a group board owner, so if I have a group board, I can't really discern of everyone who's contributing on that board. There's no way for me to know who all's reciprocating by resharing. I just see the pins that are on the board. So I don't know if I have dumpers in the group, basically. With Tailwind, you can. So with Tailwind, I can see here, and this is a new tribe, so, but I can see who is adding. The first number is how many you've added. The second number is how many you've shared, meaning other people's. And so it'll be green if you're in a certain range, but, and again, I don't want to point anybody out because this is a brand new tribe. So usually our members do it at the end of the week to do their reciprocation. But like when I had Girl Bosses Rock, my boards over there, I had blogging tips and things like that. I had a lot of people who would just come and dump and dump and dump and didn't reciprocate a single one. So they get kicked out. I can do that in tribes. I cannot do that with my boards. So tribes are actually a better way to, you know, ensure that your stuff is getting engaged on. When you put them on group boards, it could be touch and go. But in the tribes, there's a little more oversight by the tribe members. I can also go through and, you know, let certain people know. Like I have one board that's only Kingdom bloggers. So you have to be on the content team for Kingdom bloggers. You had to have gone through my training. Those are the only ones that can share pins in that board. I won't accept any other contributors. But I have some other boards that really anyone can join if they're in the niche. But if they're sharing pins like this one that aren't optimized, I can go let them know, hey, you need to fix your pins or you can't pin here anymore. Why would I do that? It seems kind of rude. Well, it's not. We need quality content in order for our own accounts to do well. And so you don't want people sharing stuff that's not quality. Or if they're sharing content that don't belong on the board. I've had other boards in the past where it's like no adult content, and then someone started sharing adult content, you know, about sex, and I'm like, no content like that on this board, so they get kicked out. You can't really do that in regular Pinterest boards, group boards, but tribes you can. You can also see, you know, how many shares you're getting. It tells you. You can see here reshares and repins. So a reshare, the number of times that your tribes have shared your content. So literally someone in your tribe shared it from right here. The repins, the number of repins generated from the reshares. So that means once one of my tribe members, save this to one of their boards, then someone that follows them repinned it from their board. That's double, right? So it got shared once and now it's being shared again, kind of like second cousin sharing, I guess. So it's really great to see how well your pins are doing. And if you're in a tribe that you're not seeing anything, then that's a tribe you need to get out of. So, and that's why I love the tribes, because you just are able to do a lot more analysis of what you're doing and whether it's working. Okay. And okay, we talked about Smart Loop. So that's really it. I know that was kind of a lot, but I really just wanted to go over the very, very basic stuff that I see a lot of our Christian bloggers that are just struggling with some of these areas. And, it's because you really just probably don't understand what all goes into it. And so the recap is making sure your Pinterest is optimized as a business account, making sure on your blog you have a quality pinnable image that has the post title on it, that you are putting the proper Pinterest text and hashtags for your pin descriptions, that you're making it as super easy as possible for your readers to share your content. And then, of course, how you pin matters as well. So, having that blog board there, making sure that it is above the fold is what they call it, meaning when I land on your site or on your profile and I go to boards, like the first couple of rows, your blog board. So if you add a new board today, it's naturally going to go to the one position. You just move it down. But your blog board needs to be up here, because people do go to people's accounts. Like I do go to other bloggers that I follow, and I go to their blog board and I bulk schedule from their boards to my Pinterest through Tailwind. And so that just makes it easier for them to find more of your content, because even though you have everyone else's content on here, realistically what you're wanting is for them to repin your content. So make it easy. It's all about making it easy for your readers. And then Pinterest will literally start doing the work for you. So let me jump over really quick. This isn't on the slides, but how important Pinterest is and how important it is that you have it set up properly. So I mentioned Kingdom Bloggers is brand new. I created the Pinterest maybe in the end of October, November. Just started pinning Christian content. I did not have the website set up yet. Let me go to acquisition. Our first blog post was published December 3rd. And let's see, go to all traffic and referrals. So brand new website. Of course, Google doesn't know we exist yet. And so December 3rd. And so we'll just do that first week. In that first week, with 2 posts published that week, I think is 2 or 3, you can see we got 34 users from Pinterest. Brand new website. Okay, you're not going to get that from Google, right? Because Google doesn't know you exist yet. You've got to work on your SEO. Pinterest will continually send you traffic. So here we are, December 3rd through today. So we're what, 6 weeks old? The website is literally 6 weeks old. And Pinterest is still our #1 referrer, of course. Google's, by the way, Google has picked us up in that 6 weeks. We have several posts ranking in the top 5. One has actually made it to page 1. So that, SEO is important on the blog. But while you're still figuring all of that out, Pinterest will still send you that organic traffic, but you have to have it set up with the right foundation. Stop focusing on the click-through threads and the share. I mean, you should still do some of the share threads, but definitely not the click-through threads, because you want genuine traffic coming to your sites, and Pinterest is a great way to do that because people go there and search for content just like they do Google. The other thing with Pinterest, having a business account, you're able to see your analytics. which tells you how your profile, your Pinterest profile is doing, but also the activity from your website. And so just to kind of show you, again, we're a brand new site. Well, you can see here, it does it like 7-day increments. Your top posts, the top impressions, which honestly, impressions don't really matter. You could be shown in front of people all day long, but if they're not clicking on it, then, you know, who cares? So this post, I think, was December 17th was published, and 225 clicks. That's organically speaking. But you can come up here and do any range. So we'll go back to November 1st just to kind of show you. So nothing, nothing, nothing. And then December, oops, let me do this. Do October to today. So this was when I was just creating the Pinterest account. There was no blog, just working on building the boards and everything else. December 3rd is when we kind of went live. And from there, it's been a steady increase. These big peaks, those are pins that just went viral that day, which was probably this one right here. Yeah, that's after the 17th. So that's your Pinterest profile. And the importance of this is, one, like when you see all of this, the top pin impressions from your site, the boards with the top pin impressions, these aren't just your boards, these are other, can be other boards too. But, you know, if you get some pins out there that are like getting 0, then you're like, either one, you need to redo the imagery for that pin, better optimize it, or maybe that's an indication that that topic is just not something people are interested in. And so it can help you also know what content people are really liking, so you can write more on that type of content. And so the other one is your website that is attached to Pinterest. And one thing to keep in mind with Pinterest, it is glitchy. Pinterest is constantly changing its algorithm. And so don't freak out if you log in one day and your numbers drop. Don't think you did something wrong. Give it a day or two and it usually will pick right back up. You'll see chatter in the groups. Pinterest is forever giving us gray hair. So just know that. And so these are pins from your website. So the other one, the other view we saw includes other pins that you might have saved from other people. But this will be everything from your site. Now you see this is multiple of the same one. There's multiple images floating around out there of that pin. Some were uploaded manually, some were saved from the blog post. And then the ones that are uploaded through Tailwind are actually, even though it's the same image, they're treated as a brand new pin. So in essence, this is 173 plus 36 plus 13 for that time period. But this just lets you know, like, look, people are coming to your site and they're saving your pins and they're acting on the pins from your site. Okay, and then you can also see a little about the people you reach. I'll just do this one really quick. So one thing I want to mention, when you read blog posts that say how I went from 0 to 500,000 monthly viewers in, you know, a day or a month or whatever, be mindful of what that actually means. A lot of times bloggers will write those posts, you know, and it sounds really great, like, oh, wow, they really know what they're doing. Your monthly views. Okay, so what I had mentioned about, let's just go here to home. You have views, impressions was the word. Let me close all this out. Your impressions, I got too many these open. Hold on one second. An impression is simply the time your image, number of times your image shows up. So whether it's on the home page, that's an impression, right? Doesn't mean I clicked on it, doesn't mean I did anything with it. It's just being put in front of people. Now, obviously, the more times and the higher number of people it gets in front of should correlate to more clicks and more saves and so forth. But the impressions number is really just a number, so please don't get caught up in that number or caught up in people using that as the sell for whatever they're trying to sell you. So your monthly viewers, and you see you have viewers and engaged. So my pin got in front of 92,000 people. 2,400 of them actually engaged on it. And so that means maybe they just clicked on it and took another look, right? That's an engagement. They maybe clicked through it to the blog post. They maybe saved it. All of those are engagement. They're doing something. And so you see, as you move along, this is a brand new site, so it will take time for this to catch up. You want this top line and this line to begin to lessen the gap between them, right? It's going to be in front of 1 million viewers, but the number of people actually engaging will slowly get closer to that. It's never going to equal, but I just want you to understand what that means, what impressions mean, monthly viewers, monthly engagement, all that, because I see a lot of people who promote, like the blog post, see how I went from 0 to 1 million, you know, views, monthly views. If they're not clicking, who cares? Like your post, your pretty little picture could be in front of me all day long. That's an impression right there. I'm not looking for any of that, right? It's the ones that get clicked on that matter. So just be mindful of that terminology and what those words actually mean. And then from your analytics, you know, you can find more information in here too. So, okay. So I hope all of this made sense. Like I said, I know I went really fast. All of these I will also include when in the post where I share this video. They'll all be linked right there. So Tasty Pins, Tailwind, these are my affiliate links, by the way. So the Pinterest for Bloggers is a course that I actually wrote that goes through all of what we talked about today, but actually goes into detail on each area, like spells it out for you with video tutorials and everything else. The course is normally $47, but if I made this code for you Christian women bloggers to use, and so 17 OFF, like the word off, and it'll be, that comes to like $30, I think. So if you have any questions, just, comment below. Be sure to tag my name when you comment. That way I get the notification that you had a comment, or a question, I should say, because the comments begin to get all jumbled and I won't always see them if there's a question. So just be sure to tag my name on it, and that way I can respond to any questions that you have. Other than that, I hope all of this information was helpful, and I will talk to you guys soon.